The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned into the PA Power Podcast, College Edition, featuring Rob Waltko and Joe Youngblood. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
All right, fans, welcome to another week here in the open room, and it's almost championship week. This is like the week before the week, and, you know, PIAA states are behind us, which means NCAAs are up next. Conference tournaments are done. Seeds are in. Brackets are out, and we're going to get talking about them tonight. Rob, this is like kind of like the most wonderful time of the year in a sense, and, you know, I don't know if you're as amped as I am to get going about this. Are you?
Yeah, Joe, I'm pumped up, and rather than do a conference preview, which I think, or a conference recap, which have been done. Let's just jump into the brackets and talk about some of the guys that are PA natives and or wrestling at PA schools and what we think about their draws. And, you know, we'll actually come out with some final predictions next week. Personally, I haven't enough time to dig into the brackets yet. It's Thursday night over here, so I don't want to give my top four yet, but we'll give you some knee-jerk reactions to the brackets.
Yeah, look for that on Twitter. We're going to go, Rob and I are going to go head-to-head and give out our top four and kind of go at one another again like we did earlier in the year. Looking at 125 pounds, jump into things. You know, Pennsylvania represented by four wrestlers: Willie Gerard from Bloom, Gage Curry from American, Spencer Lee from Iowa, and Zeke Moisey from Nebraska. And all things point to right at the shoot, one of the most intriguing matchups of the first round in the whole tournament involves Zeke Moisey against Ryan Milhoff from Arizona State, two returning All-Americans or All-Americans at some point, Moisey being a two-time All-American, a runner-up, and an eighth-place finish last year. All of which was when he was at West Virginia. Now new scenery this year at Nebraska, and kind of just, I think, barely making it through right now. Injuries have played such a huge part in his career, and he's 13-10. He's the 19 seed. He's got Ryan Milhoff, who's 11-3 on the year. He's battling some injuries of his own. I think it's going to be one of those like intriguing matchups, and maybe Moisey can find some magic that he had back in when he made that run a few years ago to the finals, and get himself back on the podium. He's definitely battle tested. It's just a matter of if his body's going to agree with him. Looking at the rest of the bracket, Spencer Lee comes into 3 seed. Down the stretch had the loss in the Big 10 final to Sebastian Rivera. Second time he lost to him this year. Also has a loss to Nick Piccinini. So he was on the bottom half of the bracket with Piccinini, but I think Lee makes his way to that semifinal, and we'll see what happens. Willie Gerard has a very winnable first round pigtail matchup, but for all of his efforts, we'll get Sebastian Rivera in the first round there on Thursday morning. And Gage Curry's got Ronnie Bresser from Oregon State, the 4 seed. So PA guys, like 3 of the 4 have definite tough first round matchups. But I see all the guys in this weight class from Pennsylvania winning at least a match here, and some. I'd say, one with definite potential to be top 4, and another one with an outside shot. So, Rob, what do you got on 125?
Yeah, shout out to Bloomsburg. Gerard was their first qualifier in a few years. They've had a bit of a dry spell, and he actually came out of the 3 seed to win that bracket. It was a bit of a weird bracket in the EWL. I think he'd beat Warner, lost to the Ryder Kid. The Ryder Kid had beaten him, but lost to Warner, so it was kind of a 3-way race, and he came out on top, and good for him. It's good to see Bloomsburg back in the tournament. This bracket, though, I think you nailed it. Up front, these PA guys are going to struggle, but I think if you're Spencer Lee, honestly, you couldn't have asked for a better draw to the semis. I don't see him getting pushed really in his first 3 matches. Christian Moody should be fine there. Milhoff, Moisey, those guys, it's the walking wounded. They're basically the walking dead. And then he'll see Russell, who's just not a very challenging matchup for him. Everything Russell's good at, Lee's better and can kind of push him. So I think he's looking good to get to the semis, and it'll be tough from there. Joe, anything else you want to say about 125?
No, I'm ready to move on 133 pounds and have you take the lead here.
So this is a big one. I mean, there's 4 Pennsylvania guys that are ranked really in the top 7. You got Mick Philippi, who's the 4 seed, Luke Pletcher, who's the 5, Ethan Lezak, who's the 6, and Austin DeSanto, who's the 7. And then, Bravo Young, Penn State guys, ranked number 10, or seeded number 10. So this is full of PA power, that's for sure. Starting off, I think Philippi and Pletcher, they're the 4 and 5. It's looking like they might meet. Probably should be okay in their first-round matches, but they got battles after that. You got Philippi's going to run into Austin Gomez, who's the 13, and then Pletcher's going to run into Bridges, who's the 12, who he beat in overtime. Bridges is looking tough this year. Tough at the end of the year, that is. He just beat Austin Gomez. I mean, that's one where you can see those 4 and 5s drop down the con season and have to wrestle early. I hope not, but that way it's just so loaded you don't know what to expect. Austin DeSanto, he's the 7 seed, likely to see Bravo Young, the 10, in the round of 16. That was the tale of 2 matches to me. It was kind of the opposite of what you expected. DeSanto came out hard, scored a bunch early, and then seemed to fade a little bit or got put on his heels where Bravo Young was picking him apart late. So if I'm Bravo Young and I'm Penn State, I feel okay about that match. I probably picked up some confidence. And then Lezak, he's going to see Tariq Wilson, the 11 seed, second round. Lezak's peaking at the right time. He took it to DeSanto last weekend. Either way, though, I think the loser that's going to, or the winner, will drop down and see the 8 or the 9 seed. So I think both of them are good to place. But you could see DeSanto versus Bridges, DeSanto versus Pletcher, one of them in the round of 12. It's going to be kind of a war zone. Joe, what are your thoughts on all that?
It's like, where do you start? I'll talk too about Zach Trampay, former state champ from Council Rock South, repping District 1. And the Council Rock South Golden Hawks in that pigtail with a winnable match as the 33 seed. He wins that, and he gets Dayton Fix. So I think I think he's capable of winning a match out there. I think it'd be good for him being this young in his career. So just want to make light of not skipping over all the any of the PA guys. DJ Feldman as well is in position to at least win a match or 2 there out of Lock Haven, but as we go dip in a little bit further, Corbin Myers has a tough first-round matchup with Josh Terrell from American, and then but if he were to lose that, would have a favorable matchup in that wrestleback, getting the loser or the winner of the pigtail loser and Dylan Duncan, who probably is going to lose to Nick Suriano. But anyway, looking at the guys you mentioned, you spoke about. It looks like Pletcher and Philippi are going to meet in that quarterfinal there with a shot, not with a shot, with the All-American, guaranteed All-American on the line. Tremendous match there in the quarterfinals. Friday morning that has the makings to be I guess I say making is a good match. Can be pretty defensive minded. Pletcher against Mickey Philippi. The match though that I'd be really looking forward to is in that second round Thursday night, seeing potentially Ethan Lezak and Tariq Wilson. Again, Tariq Wilson probably looking to try to recapture some of the magic he had last year in that run that he made at NCAA's. Like you said, Lezak looks to be peaking right now and has looked better. Maybe he's finally just took him a while to get comfortable with this weight. I don't know, Rob, you and I talked about that extensively throughout the season, that he just didn't look the part and he was struggling to, with the bigger guys. And right now he's wrestling extremely well. And so I'm thinking that winner there is going to put themselves in a very good position moving forward. Obviously, probably hitting the likes of Suriano in that quarterfinal, and going into the wrestlebacks. DeSanto, second round match, Roman Bravo Young, another one that's going to be a fun match to watch on Thursday night. I don't know. I'm not saying anything yet. My picks will come later. But, I have my opinions on this one and where one wrestler's trending and where the other one. I have 2 wrestlers in this match that are trending in opposite directions at this point in the season. And, some of you might be able to read between the lines on that one. That's all I'm saying right now. But, that's what I got, 133. 133 as far as Pennsylvania Power goes is going to be exciting. And, there's going to be some potential Pennsylvania on Pennsylvania crime at some point in time in these weight classes.
You're right. There's definitely going to be some PA on PA crime. To your point about Lezak, I think Minnesota's peaking in general, and Wilson doesn't look 100%. So I like his odds to get to the quarters. But I cut you off. Let's go to 41 and hear what you have to say.
Yeah, no problem. We get in 141 pounds. We are represented by 4 Pennsylvania natives: Austin Headley from North Carolina, Kyle Shoup, Lock Haven, Max Murin from Pennsylvania Midwest, also known as Iowa, Mikey Carr from Illinois, and Sam Krivas from Virginia. Also in this weight class, the 3 seed is Nick Lee from Penn State, so we would be, I'm not going to overlook him and his draw. But looking at, just right out of the gate, Shoup, I got Shoup. Matt Finley is a tough opponent for him in that first matchup, but I think Shoup's can win that one, and then he would see the winner of Albert from Northern Illinois, Northern Iowa, 4 seed, and Corey Shy from Army. So that's not exactly a favorable matchup. Looking at that second round, Headley is Cam Kelly from Ohio, and I think it's a winnable match for Headley as we look at it. And if we drop down a bottom half of the bracket, Murin and both Mikey Carr have favorable, winnable matches in that first round. Murin wrestling well, coming off the weekend, so if he's peaking right now and he can get by Tristan Moran, then waiting Mikey Carr and let's be honest. We've been down on Murin a little bit, but let's not forget he was seconds away from beating Carr the first time, and then he beat him at Big Tens when it mattered. So that could be, Murin could be setting himself up for a run right here and find himself in the quarterfinals on Friday morning. Looking at Krivas, has real tough Mitch McKee in the first round, and that's gonna not go so well for him, but. Out of that, he would drop down, and he'd have, another tough match, probably looking at Sam Turner from Wyoming in that first wrestleback. So Krivas in this trip to NCAA's, could find himself on the end of an 0-2, quick 0-2 if he's not careful and is not on his game right from the start. But Rob, what do you have? What do you think? I guess I want to focus maybe on Murin as we talk about this weight class. You think Murin, first and foremost, can Murin beat Tristan Moran in your opinion?
I think Moran's too much for him. I'm gonna pivot here. My sleeper to get into the quarterfinals is Kyle Shoup. He's one of the nation's leaders in Tech Falls. Finley was on fire to start the year, but he's been banged up. He gets by him. I think he has a really winnable match with Josh Albert. I mean, could we be looking at a Ronnie Perry X2 with Kyle Shoup?
Well, that's Ronnie Perry ×2 would require a win over Yanni. And, Rob, as much as much as I'd like to
maybe Ronnie Perry -10.
I can say Ronnie Perry, if Ronnie Perry finished in the top 4. Not top 2. Yeah, that's potential. But yeah, you look at the way things go. If he can get out of that first round match, and Albert he's solid. I mean, he's well deserving of that 4 seed. But when you pull back the layers, his resume isn't super impressive. Back to
Max Murin, I don't know. I mean, I think Moran's pretty tough, but that's a winnable match. I mean, Murin's been close to just about everyone. Carr, I know there's a bunch of outrage about his 6 seed. To me, I mean, he didn't wrestle very well at the Big Ten, so I don't know. I think when Mikey Carr is on, I called him Rodney Dangerfield. He's really good, but he didn't look good last week. So this way it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, and if Carr does catch a little fire and gets Nick Lee, memory serves me correct, they did not wrestle in the duel.
No, but Carr beat him last year at the Big Tens.
Correct. Let's roll over to 149. Rob, what do you got?
So 49, not a ton of PA power in terms of Sons of Pennsylvania, but you got Josh Maruka. He's the 23 seed. He's facing Patricio Lugo, the 10 seed. Lugo formerly has a 4-1 lead or win over him at the Midlands last year. Maruka's been losing a ton of close matches this year. You feel like he's ready to break out and take that next step. Hopefully this is the time. Artelona, this is another guy that I have as a sleeper. He's the 13 seed. He's going to see Tommy Thorne first, who has been pretty awful the whole year, except the Big Tens. The winner's going to see Brock Mahler. Coming into this year or last year, you probably would have put Artelona as a bigger recruit. So I think that's a winnable match. Bergie, he's going to face Olivias from Fresno first. Winner sees Kolazic. But Artelona is another guy that could be making a streak to the semis, or maybe Bergie. I don't think Mahler or Kolazic are unbeatable, and those are both winnable matches for those guys. I haven't filled my brackets out completely because we just came out yesterday, but I'm going to go on a limb and say one of those guys in the quarterfinals. Joe, am I crazy for saying that, or what are you thinking?
No, I don't think you're crazy at all for saying that. Artelona has been impressive this year. For me, I look at these Missouri guys and these records, and they wrestle in the MAC, and it's no disrespect to the MAC, but they have like these huge inflated records, and I don't know, it's my struggle. I feel like they're the team that they never match in the postseason what they did in the regular season. They're a solid team. They're really good. They're well coached. They're tough. But I don't know if they and it's like kind of term my use. I don't know if they've been enough scraps to have, more or less be battle tested for a tournament like this. I just feel like every year at some point in time they falter at NCAAs, and I'm waiting for the Missouri team that's maintains that top 5 to 7 ranking all year in the dual meets to consistently leave NCAAs with a trophy, because they have on paper and in these brackets they have firepower, and then they don't make good on it. Just my 2 cents.
No, I don't disagree. I remember last year, their seeds were outrageous. They didn't wrestle any of the majors. They did the MAC. I'll tell you this, they have a tough dual schedule. Outside the MAC, they always wrestle tough teams, but Mahler, I think he was in red shirt during Vegas because they still had Leith prior to his injury. So Mahler's a true freshman. So is Artelona. Artelona's won Fargo a few times. This is a match that he truly, I would hope, thinks he can win, and on paper he's in it. So it'll be interesting to see how he does in his first NCAA tournament.
Hey, let me ask you this about this weight class. Do we need to put Mitch Feinsilver on upset alert in that first round with Parker Kropman from Drexel?
I don't know, man. Kropman, he's pulled one before. This weight has the most parity, that's for sure. Heck, man, I never qualified for the NCAA tournament. So Feinsilver, don't take any offense to this, but he's probably the least heralded 3 seed in the whole tournament, I would think. There's just a lot of parity in this weight. You're really not sure, what's going to come up. So it wouldn't shock me to see anyone go down. Outside maybe the first 2 guys, I think they're going to win their first couple pretty easily. And
just if I add about Josh Maruka, he's now kind of the Shields of that Arizona State team, where we were waiting for Shields for that marquee win, and he got it over Chance Marsteller in basically Chance Marsteller's hometown, close to his hometown. And Maruka's the other guy that just hasn't broken on through, as you said, and this could be his. He could use this week, this tournament as his coming out party.
I compare Maruka more to like a Max Murin, because Shields, he is an All-American, but Murin, you look at his record, 15-8. But tons of close losses. That's like the story of Maruka's life. And Maruka and Murin are kind of in the same boat. Western PA guy, trust me, I'm cheering for him. And hopefully he can go out there and put it on Lugo early and go on a bit of a run.
All right, so let's jump into 157. And, we got 5 guys from Pennsylvania here, natives of Pennsylvania. We got Jason Nolf, the 1 seed from Penn State. We've got Alex Clucker from Lock Haven. He's the 32 seed. He's in that pigtail. If he wins that first match, which I believe he will, he'll see Jason Nolf. So we'll have a little PA on PA crime in that first round. Other notables, the 5 seed, moving right down the bracket, Hayden Hidley from NC State. He's 20-2 on the year. He comes in with the 5 seed. The 14 seed is Zach Hartman from Bucknell, who we just had on last week on the podcast. Guy that hard not to root for. That's just tremendous interview, kid with the head on his shoulders and a tough wrestler to boot. Also, the 8 seed Caleb Young from Iowa. This weight class here, I think we all know on paper, and if this certain individual stays healthy, who's going to win this match. But looking at some of the other PA guys, Hayden Hidley, he's got a pretty good path to the at least to the quarters. In the quarters, he looks like he's going to see Alec Pantaleo from Michigan. And that's going to be a tough test for him. But I think ultimately Hidley wins and gets a rematch with Nolf from last year's final, but just this year in the semis. And you're moving on. Hartman, Griffin Perriott, tough first round matchup, but I think he wins that one. Unfortunately, second round waiting for him will be Ryan Deacon from Northwestern, and I think Deacon puts him into the wrestlebacks. But Hartman's going to go out and battle, and it's going to be fun because we saw it earlier in the year, and Hartman is fearless, and just the way he talks about how he doesn't get caught up thinking about stuff. He just goes out and wrestles and doesn't worry about rankings and who beat who and things like that, and just very matter of fact. I'm not saying he's going to go out and beat Deacon, but stranger things have happened in March at the NCAA wrestling tournament. Caleb Young has a pretty decent look to get to the quarters, and he would see that Hartman-Diekman winner, and with a right to go to the semis. If it's Deacon, I don't know that Young has that. I think I like Hartman's chances against Deacon more than I like Young, if that makes sense. I don't know. I think Hartman's style translates better to him going after him, and we saw Young at times struggle with the higher level guys scoring points, and I don't think Hartman's had that same issue. And but I see from native Pennsylvanians, I think, I'm saying 2 guaranteed All-Americans.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Nolf, if he doesn't place, I'll fall out of my seat in PPG Arena. And then Hidley, feel pretty good about him. The rest of the guys going to be a crapshoot. I think Young has a nice path to the quarters. I think Deacon looked vulnerable last week, but at the same time, Hartman hasn't wrestled his best. Or maybe he didn't wrestle his best last week, losing in the finals. So, it's the NCAA tournament. You don't know what's going to happen. But one thing I can tell you is, Hidley has Pantaleo in the quarters. He's beaten him a few times in both folk and freestyle. Competitive, but I feel pretty good about that. I think we're going to see, like you said, some PA on PA crime in the semis. Ultimately, if I'm betting my life, I'm picking Nolf, but Hidley's a stud. I'm not going to count him out, and he's a kid that we've talked about. He gets better every time out, so I hope that's a battle, and we'll see who comes out on top. So let's jump into 165. There's a lot of PA power here. Starting us off, Vincenzo Joseph, the number 2 seed. Maybe licking his wounds a little bit after last week, but if we know anything about Vincenzo, it's that he loses in the Big Ten finals and then wrestles well after that. He is going to likely see Isaiah White or Bryson Ashworth in the quarterfinals. White's the 7 seed, Ashworth's the 10. White's given him trouble in the past. I don't think he's taken him down in regulation, but I don't think White's been that close to him recently. You have Shields. He's going to face DeBlasi, who he beat last year, who's now at George Mason. Shout out to Mason Beckman and company, followed by the winner of Bryce Steyert and Massa. He's beaten both of them in the last year. And then Chance Marsteller. He's going to face one of my favorite guys, Evan Gerald / Campbell, whoever wins that, plus Wick after that. He'd beaten Gerald last year, got pinned by Wick at the NCAAs last year. But we got 3 guys there seeded top 5. I'm thinking that it's likely to be a PA on PA semi in the bottom, and then Chance versus Wick. If he gets there, is probably a toss-up. What do you like about this weight? Anyone else you're seeing that catches your eye?
As far as PA guys go, I'll round it out. Cam Coy from UVA, Campbell from Ohio State, and Evan DeLong from Clarion. They all have tall tasks ahead of them. I think out of 3 of them, if I had to, venture a guess, 2 of the 3 will earn at least a victory in one win in the tournament here. Evan DeLong's just a long shot. He's 16-13. He's gonna, he gets Vincenzo, and then he's gonna get looks like Connor Flynn or Gordon Wolf, and that spells trouble for him. Definitely, I agree. We should see that PA on PA crime there in the semis in the lower half of the bracket. As I look, though, at that quarterfinal, what should be Marsteller and Wick, do you think Marsteller can beat Wick?
I do. I think that Wick has shown this year to be somewhat limited. Like, they're picking top. He's looking for that cradle. I don't know. I remember him last year being a little bit more dynamic, but they're almost relying on that cradle a little bit too much. I think if you have some time to scout him, Marsteller can finish his shots pretty clean. You get 2 on him. I mean, you got the match as long as you don't get turned. So I think Chance has a good shot. It'd be nice to see 3 guys in the semis.
Ken, in your opinion, what about a potential Marsteller and Marinelli matchup? We had Chance on earlier in the year, and he's obviously, like everyone else, walking into this weekend. Their goal is to be a national champ. And he's obviously had this unique path to where he's at right now, and this unique perspective on things because of what life has, given him. How do you think Marsteller matches up with Marinelli? Do you think Marsteller matches up better with Marinelli than Vincenzo does?
That's a good question.
Curveball thrown at you.
I mean, Chenzo's 0-2 versus him, so it's hard to say Chenzo matches up well with him. I don't think that Marinelli can muscle Marsteller. I think it would be a 1 takedown match. But I don't know. Marinelli just seems to have a knack for winning this year. He's on a mission. One of his best friends tragically died last spring, and it seems like it's really motivated him. And I don't know, though. Chance can get 1 on anyone. If he can get 1, Marinelli's not that dynamic. He just kind of runs people over. I think Chance could hold him off. That's a tough match.
I know, like a lot of other people probably listen and that are fans of wrestling would like nothing more than to see that happen. I think I like it. I do like his chances, and I agree. I don't think that Marinelli will be able to move him around and bully him. I think that he has that. He can do that to Vincenzo. Vincenzo's not the same build, and I don't know. Marsteller is he's built kind of like Marinelli, and I think in that aspect, and Marsteller, for all intents and purposes, he's good on his feet, and like you said, clean, finishes his shots clean, and just needs 1. Just it's easier said than done, but he's definitely capable of it. I don't know. I was just spitballing there. Sorry to throw the curveball at you, but I'm just looking at the bracket and thinking about it.
No, that's. I mean, they get in the semis. That's one I'm definitely gonna be dialed into. Not that I won't be dialed into the other ones, but that's a match that I hope we see before Chance graduates. There's those matches that, like off the top of my head, one match I always wanted to watch was Nato and Seth Gross. It never happened. So I think if we never saw Chance in Marinelli at the end of Marinelli's career, I think we'd be a little disappointed. So
let's move on to 174 pounds, and 174 lacks some, sons of Pennsylvania, as you like to say. There's 3. There's Jacob Oliver from Edinburgh, the 28th seed, Mikey Labriola, the 10th seed from Nebraska, and Travis Stefanik, the 31st seed from Princeton. Just looking at Oliver draws Jordan Cutler from Lehigh, the 5 seed right out the gate in the first round. I don't think he beats Cutler, and for as good a season as Oliver's had on that Edinburgh team that is a little bit down, I think he goes to that wrestle back and he gets the loser of Marcus Coleman from Iowa State and Matt Feinsilver from Duke, which probably beat Coleman, and that's a match that he has a legit shot to win. I think that Oliver does get a win at NCAA's, which is a good building block for him moving into the the following year. But going back down the bottom half, we got Labriola, and he's got Daniel Bullard from NC State in the first round. I think he wins that match. And then looks like he'll see in the second round Jacoby Smith from Oklahoma State. And Labriola is 0-1 against Jacoby Smith. Jacoby Smith does own a 7-6 win over him. With that said, that would be one of those intriguing matchups in the second round, a 10-7. Labriola I wouldn't say he's been up and down this year, but he's lacked maybe some consistency that we probably felt he would have earlier in the year. And as a result,
Joe, not to cut you off, but Labriola actually beat Jacoby Smith last year at the Bob Smith Open, 7-6.
Oh, I had it wrong. My mistake.
The only reason I knew that is because coming into the year, I knew that he had beaten him and David Coker, who both All-Americans. So, but to your point, Labriola is he's had some down moments this year, and he's definitely needs to be up for that one.
Yeah, and Stefanik again getting a wild card, getting into the tournament. Princeton, he gets Daniel Lewis in the first round, and that's a pretty tall task. Daniel Lewis coming on the year 24-1, and from that Missouri team that I talked about earlier. Stefanik will drop down the wrestlebacks, and it looks like he'll get Ryan Christensen or Andrew from Wisconsin or Andrew Morgan from Campbell. Probably Morgan from Campbell, and that's a match that he has an opportunity to win. I don't know if that he will, but 74. Other than those, you have Mark Hall from Penn State. He's 26-0. He is the 1 seed, and he's Big Ten champ. He owns a win over Valencia. He'll see potentially Miles Amin in the semis if Amin's able to get there, and that could be a tough match for Hall, but ultimately I see him getting back to the championship match, and it'd be interesting to see if Lewis and Zahid get back to the semis, or get to the semis against each other, and who wins there in that rematch. Yeah,
it'll be a fun wait. Now, one thing I noted, I was actually filling this bracket out earlier, is that if Labriola were to lose to Smith, or either one, whoever loses, that's who Cutler will see likely in the blood round. So that's not an easy draw. This depth is pretty high. I mean, there's probably 10, 11 really, really good guys in here. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on the top. Like you said about Hall, I do expect a Hall and honestly a Valencia final. But, this weight, I don't think it necessarily has the depth that 33 has, 1 through 14. But I think 1 through 8 or 9 is just as good. Am I crazy for saying that?
No, and it's something we've talked about all season, Rob. I mean, we've talked about the depth at 74, and you had your hammers up at the top, but then that 4 or 5 through 10 or 12, it was kind of pick and choosing who was hot, who had to win over who, as to how the rankings fell. So, not crazy at all. Totally agree that 74's got a ton of depth, and there's guys that we didn't even talk about that are probably going to find their way on the podium in 2 weeks from now.
So jumping ahead, 184. This is another weight with a lot of star power. Got ZZ Top, friend of the program, former featured guest as the number 3 seed. Ryan Price is the 8 seed. Nino Bonacorsi somehow ends up the 13 seed, which I don't want to get on my soapbox, but was a bit surprised because he beat up Renan last week and beat him a couple weeks before. Corey Hazel is the 16, a guy that Lockhaven is definitely high on. And then Dakota Gear, I think he's a sleeper at 26. Starting with Gear, he has no history with Nick Renan or Sam Colbray. Renan's his first match. I think he'll see Colbray after. No college history. He lost to Renan in high school, I think, at the Flow Nationals. But I think Dakota Gear is going to make a run to the quarterfinals. I'm calling it right here, right now. Sleeper pick. I think he goes out, he beats Renan, takes a win over Colbray, and gets himself in the quarters. I am seeing, Zavatsky, he could get himself in the quarters. He's supposed to. He's going to see Wisman, round 2, who he's been close with before, or Caffey from Michigan State, who's pretty tough. Follow that up with Foster, who's beaten him twice, who's the 6 seed. So he might run into some roadblocks at the number 6. Ryan Price, he'll wrestle Max Lyon first. He's never met him. Followed by Taylor Vence, who he's never wrestled. That's a tough one to lose, though, because the loser there will end up facing Zavatsky, Dupre, or Foster, quarterfinal loser. So you'll probably want to get in the quarterfinals there. My man Bonacorsi, he's going to face Sumner, another friend of the program, Bonacorsi that is. He'll face Summer. He beat him up at the Clarion Open. He'll have Emery Parker next, who much like Mikey Carr, has had limited results. He's been pretty hurt. He was on fire last year at the NCAAs, but my gut's saying Nino's in this match. And then you got Hazel at 16. He'll see Venzer Price early. In the consies, that is, he'll face Martin in the second round. So he's going to have to catch fire as well. I don't know, man. I'm calling 4 guys in the quarters here for PA. I'm saying Zavatsky, Price, Nino, Gear, all getting into the quarters. Is that just my PA blinders, or what do you think on that?
You kind of stole my thunder a little bit on Nino. I think his pace, and at this point in the season, the fact that he's going to be able to generate offense for 7 minutes will definitely work in his favor. And I when that bracket fell, and as much as I'm not going to get on much of a soapbox, and I was hoping you'd go in a little bit harder about those seeds and how Bonacorsi ended up where he did. But I looked at it and I was like, hey, you know what? Like, if I'm him and I'm sitting there and I give out my first match and I'm wrestling Emery Parker, like, I'm feeling good about that because Bonacorsi's shown, like, he can wrestle with anyone in the country. And that's a good match for him. And getting that 4 seed, and, you know, there he's in the quarters, and, you know, then he's looking at probably in that quarterfinal, he's probably looking at Max Dean. How many of these big matches he could win back to back in a short period of time? I think the Emery Parker match is like a great matchup for him to get to that quarterfinal round. You know, he gets full head of steam after that one. Who knows? I'm going to say it's no slam dunk, but I could see Bonacorsi making the semis, Rob, and you know, that's, everyone knows that's tough for me. I mean, I like Bonacorsi. He was a great guest. He was an unbelievable guy to have on. But at the end of the day, he's still a pit guy, and you know, I'm picking a pit guy to pull some major upsets. So, you know, he's got a lot of things working. He's got one big thing working against him for me, and I'm still in his corner just because of the way he wrestles. It's fun. It's entertaining. It's wide open, and that pace at this time of year. That's what wins you matches at the NCAA tournament. Zavadski, I think, like you said, gets to the semis, and Gear is set up nice, but I think that he's got to win that first one. They obviously, I know it sounds kind of silly. He wins that first match against Reed, and that's going to give him all the confidence he needs to move forward. And you know, he knocks Reed off, and then, you know, you say he probably sees Colbray, and that's a very winnable match for him. And then, you know, he's in the quarters, and, you know, he sees Shakir Rashid. So, one guy you didn't mention, Rashid Martin. We talked about this the other day. What are your thoughts on Rashid not wrestling the finals at Big Ten? I'll let you talk, and I'll give you my perception of it.
So before we get into that, one thing I want to mention is with Bonacorsi's like aggressive style, that home court advantage being in Pittsburgh might help. You're going to have a lot of fans calling for stalling. If he's pushing a guy around the mat, taking a ton of shots, that, I mean, believe it or not, that plays into it with the refs. I've seen it happen.
I didn't even think about that, Rob, to be honest with you. That sways things even more in his favor, in my opinion. He's in his hometown.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to hide from him. But to your question about Rashid, so in his particular case, it didn't affect his seed, right? Whether he won or lost that match, he was if he won, he would have been the one, rather. But, you know, forfeiting, like some of these guys, they seem to forfeit through and save themselves. I think it's a mind game. I think that they want Miles Martin to believe that he has something that he either does or doesn't, but they didn't want him to feel that. Martin's had some really bad luck against Penn State. He might have some type of doubt, being that he's been beat up by Nichols so many times. And this might be a mind game. Do I like it? No. Did Cale acknowledge it's maybe not the best move in the world on the Big Ten Network? Yes, he did. But he says he's doing what's best for his team. And ultimately, I really don't like it, but I guess I see their point. However, I think I would have wrestled the guy. But again, I'm not the head coach at Penn State, so who am I? What are your thoughts, Joe?
I agree. Total mind game that they don't want Martin to have any kind of opportunity to scheme against Rashid. I just think that they want to have the upper hand, and they don't. You know, when you wrestle, obviously, you know, you wrestle a guy, and you know, he's going to show his hand, and you're going to see what they can do, and then you're able to game plan for it. You got film. They got none of that, and now they have to go off watching what he did with other guys, and it's just not the same, and it's going to make Martin sweat it. And like you said, Penn State could be renting space in his head come Saturday night. Yeah,
so I definitely think some gamesmanship for sure. Joe, what do we have cooking at 97?
97, got a lot of native sons of Pennsylvania here, and then you know, some of the wrestling blue blood or two. We got Stephen Loizu, the 17 seed out of Drexel, senior. for the Dragons. We got Jake Jacobson from Lehigh's 24 seed, Greg Bolsack, the 25 seed from Clarion, Drew Phipps, the 28 seed from Bucknell. And then it's on the top half of the bracket, bottom half of the bracket, first round, right at the shoot. We're going to have PA on PA Crime, Kellen Stout of Pittsburgh, the 23 seed, and Tom Slay from Virginia Tech, the 10 seed. And an 18 seed in the match below them, Jake Woodley from your boy from North Allegheny via Oklahoma University at the 18 spot. And also, if we look at it, we still also have that guy by the name of Bo Nickel that is floating around at the 1 seed there. If I look right here, I'm going to say everyone in this weight class from Pennsylvania will win one match with the exception of the Bolsack or Jacobson. One of them will go 0-2 because I don't see them escaping their first match, or I believe they'll both lose their first match and then wrestle each other, and then only obviously one guy moves on. And if I had to venture guess, I think Jacobson's the guy that goes. I'm just throwing it out there, just to have a hunch. But looking at Loizu, he's got a winnable first match that would get him a date with Bo Nickel. They've wrestled in the past, and he has not had very good success against Bo Nickel. Can slow him down a little bit, but Nickel, as we know, at this time of year, he is something special and not a guy you want to wrestle because he's on a mission. Drew Phipps, draws Jacob Warner from Iowa in the first round. Tough match for him. He'll drop down. I believe that, coming out of that, he will more than likely wrestle Thomas Lane from Cal Poly, and that's a winnable match for him. That's where Drew Phipps will get a win. But I think after that, he'll be out. Tom Slay beats Kellen Stout in the first round. Slay then looks like he'll get Jay Aiello from UVA. And, that's a winnable match for him. A little UVA VT rivalry there. And, Slade can find himself in the quarterfinals on Friday morning, which would be huge. He'd probably more than likely wrestling Colin Moore. I think Jake Woodley can win his first match and then, see Colin Moore in a second match. And I think Colin Moore beats him. But, then Woodley, losing in that second round match as he cross brackets, and he'll have a pretty favorable win or favorable match there in that other probably like Stephen Loizu, a little PA on PA Crime there in that second round of wrestlebacks. But that's a winnable match for Woodley. In any event, PA wins any way you slice it in that one. But this weight class,
a lot of PA depth.
A lot of PA depth. You got Nickel, and then I don't know, you can have, it could be Preston Weigel in the final with him. It could be Colin Moore. It could be someone else. I mean, we've seen, as bad as it's going to sound, we've seen Colin Moore wilt at the NCAA tournament in the past. It could happen again. A Tom Slay, a Jay Aiello could get him, or maybe someone in the semifinals, Weigel. Yeah, there's guys out there that are tough that are be gunning for him. So,
yeah, I like Slay to get in the quarters. I can't believe Stout's only wrestled 20 matches. I feel like he was on like a 7 or 8 match winning streak not too long ago. I guess he just really didn't wrestle a whole ton. I think Slay will get by him, but I think ultimately Slay, him and Aiello have wrestled a few times this year. I know Slay's won at least once, but that's a big one. You're going to want to win that one to get in the quarters. But like you said, there's going to be a lot of PA on PA Crime. You just hope whoever takes over and wins is able to carry the torch and hopefully get in the medal stand. Like you said about Woodley, he's going to struggle with more, and then he'll drop down. He'll see Aiello pretty early and hopefully make his way back and get on that podium. Let's jump to heavyweight. We have your guy, Jordan Wood, Southeast PA guy, the number 4 seed.
District 1, Boyertown.
I don't know if it's a good seed or a bad seed. He's going to see Stoll first, who has been a beast in the past but hasn't looked good this year. Gets by him, he'll see Zach Elam, who he's beaten 2-0, or Matt Voss, who's beaten 8-4. And then Paris or Conan Jennings in the quarters. I mean, Wood could be looking at a semifinal berth, but he's got to get by Stoll first. That's no easy task. Guy I'm looking at, Demetrius Thomas. He's pinned Stencil, who will see second round. And he lost 9-8 to Derek White. So, I mean, of White, Kasser, Stevenson, this is probably the guy they want to see. And I'd be interested to see if he can pull that upset and get into the semis. Thomas Haynes, another PA guy, had a nice win over Voss at the EWLs. Depending on Desi, he could possibly make a run into the quarterfinals. Desi's 10-1 on the year, but with no real big wins. Got beat up by Paris and was pretty much beat a bunch of guys I've never heard of after that. And then Joey Goodhart. Since the scuffle, he's lost only once, but hasn't really beaten anyone. He's got a tough draw with Orndorff first. If he doesn't beat him, he'll see Singletary or Jensen early in the consies. If he wants to place, he's probably going to have to win that first one and find a way to generate some offense. Joe, with that heavyweight weight, I mean, talk to me about your boy Jordan Wood. What are we looking at with him?
Everyone's watched Jordan Wood knows that he's not your typical monster heavyweight, a la like Conan or Stoll for that matter. He's a little bit more technical on the technical side. He relies on speed. He is strong as a bull. He's just not. He doesn't have the mass that those guys have or the height. So I think it's by Stoll. Stoll seems to be a shell of his former self. I'm not putting a lot of stock in the fact that what he did in the past because of how he's wrestled this year. But after that, like you said, I think that he can use his skill set to his advantage to beat either Paris or Jennings, whoever he may see in that quarterfinal, and put himself in the semis. Demetrius Thomas, I like the fact that you mentioned that there's a chance he makes it to the semis, but at the end of the day, I don't see it happening. Other PA guys, before going further, Pelusi has a very winnable match in the pigtail, but he'll get Derek White. And the other guy, Jake Gunning, the 23 seed from Buffalo. He has UC Hermida from Maryland, who, again, hasn't been overly impressive. He scored all of Maryland's points. Yes, all of Maryland's points at the Big Ten championships over the weekend. All 13 of them. So Jake Gunning, I would say, has an opportunity to win that match. And again, a match, I think Gunning wins one somewhere, maybe the first round. But getting back to Wood, I think Wood's a legit contender for the semifinals. And Haynes, this Haynes' last go, we all remember Haynes was an absolute hammer in high school and didn't have the same, success at the college level, that maybe he expected. And this is his last go at it. And I'd love to see him. I'd love nothing more than to see him get on the podium. I feel like he's got to exercise some demons similar to Chance Marsteller, but on a smaller scale as far as he's looking to get on the podium and Marsteller looking to win it. But I think it would put a stamp and on both their careers to achieve that, especially Haynes because he hasn't had that kind of success just yet. And we'll see. He's got a pretty good shot to get to the quarters, and from there, looks like he'll probably see Gable Stevenson, but dropping down to that quarterfinal match, you never know. He's gonna drop down to the bottom half of that bracket, and he'll have looking at maybe like a Goodhart, some along those lines coming through. Tate Orndorff. Making his way back through that Wrestleback. Also, too, we can't forget about Anthony Cassar. Tremendous tournament this past weekend. The Big Tens knocking off Gable Stevenson. Gable Stevenson previously talked about being undefeated 4-time national champ. Cassar had other ideas. Those two look to be on a collision course for the semifinals Friday night.
Who do you like in that semi if it happens?
It'll be interesting to see how Stevenson looks and reacts coming off that loss. Obviously, it's been a goal of his to be a 4-time undefeated national champ. We'll see how he regroups and comes out firing now that one of his 2 goals has, been altered, more or less. I mean, obviously, still has a shot to be the 4-time national champ, so that's probably where his focus is going to be on. But Cassar's a gamer. Minus that one loss of Derek White, he has been unbelievably impressive. And I think he's just a bad matchup for Stevenson because Stevenson can't move him around as much, and Cassar matches his athleticism. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I think they're pretty even. I think the advantages that both of them typically possess over just about everyone else kind of get negated here. I'll tell you what, I'd love to see them both just let it fly for 7 minutes because I think they would both score multiple takedowns. It'd be a killer match, but people tend to play it close to the chest and with good reason, right? You don't want to be the first one to make that mistake. But if I'm betting on this, I think I would go with Stevenson this time. But the way Cassar blew through him to end that match, he's got to be feeling really confident.
What'd he say? Calm down, I'm the champ? Is that what he said walking back to the center?
He said, yeah, I'm the champ, I think.
Yeah.
Calm down, I'm the champ. It was in Minnesota. Looking at Penn State, though, man, they could have a bunch of guys in the finals. I'm
going to say something's going to be no surprise to anyone. And if you are surprised by it and think otherwise, that's you're entitled to your own opinion, just as I am. Rob, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is wrapped up before the finals start on Saturday night, team race.
Yeah, I think it might be wrapped up before the semis. I mean, I'm thinking they're going to put 7 guys in the semis, and they haven't lost a semifinal match since Jimmy Gulabon lost to Corey Clark. So they know how to win those semifinal ones. But, I mean, we'll see. I mean, if Cassar and Rashid get those years next year, I think they have it wrapped up for next year too. But time will tell. A lot can happen between now and I guess even next week.
Well, Rob, anything else to add for the greater good of the podcast this week?
No, one thing I will say is get those fan guides. I know Bryant, he's working on them. They'll be out today or tomorrow. I'm looking forward to looking at mine. I mean, maybe we should have done the podcast after we have the great JB with his fan guide in our hand, but we had to do our own research. But yeah, get those fan guides. Get ready to watch the tournament.
Well, Rob, I fully plan on using mine for my picks to outduel you in our picks next week.
Yeah, we got some top 4s coming, obviously Wednesday at the latest, but I still have to fill out my whole brackets. I've been filling them out a little bit at a time, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting our guys out there.
Yeah, I'll be filling out my brackets. I got a whole bunch of new algorithms I wrote for this year's NCAA tournament to come up with my picks. So, Rob, look out. And,
we got a gym teacher writing algorithms.
Hey, you gotta, I was a career underachiever. What can I say?
He's got a bunch of names and a bunch of dodgeballs. He's throwing dodgeballs, whatever it lands on. That's his algorithm.
Exactly. It's just trying to find something that sticks. The fact still remains that this tournament in the state of Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, hotbed for wrestling, I think every PA kid that's wrestling that tournament is going to feel some kind of connection to the fan base. And I'm thinking that the fans are going to come with it and really kind of pull for the PA kids, regardless of what school they go to. Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
I hope so, man. I mean, you look at, it's in Pitt. This is Pitt's best team in a while. There's going to be some people going nuts for them. But guys show the love to Bloomsburg. They have their first qualifier in a few years. Jacob Oliver from Edinburgh carrying the torch. Lock Haven's on the up and up. F&M's got people there. Bucknell, Penn State, obviously, Drexel, Penn, etc. Let's hope we give the PA kids, the welcome home that they deserve.
Hey, before we get off, too, shout out to Kerry Regner in Millersville on having 2 All-Americans and 1 national champion, Shane Runke. Kerry Regner, friend. Yep, your boy. Friend of the program. Getting a national champion. That's phenomenal for their growth and their. We talked about them trending upwards, and their. Coach Regner did a good job of making us look good on those statements earlier in the year. No,
he carried an awesome job. Runke was wrestler of the year and most outstanding wrestler for the tournament. Awesome job by Kerry. I'll tell you what, guys. Any of the high school kids listening to this, give Millersville a shot. I'm not supposed to be giving endorsements or I don't know. No one said I can't give them, but he knows how to coach. He knows how to get the most out of his athletes. He's doing a really good job over there.
All right, folks, that will wrap it up for another week here in the open room with Rob and Joe. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, visit PAPowerWrestling.com for all your wrestling needs. Follow us on Twitter at PAPowerWrestle. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook, and check us out on Instagram. Don't forget, fans, you can subscribe to the PA Power Podcast on iTunes and listen to all 3 shows on Spotify. If you want to send any questions or suggestions for the show, email us at collegetalk@PAPowerWrestling.com. Thanks, and get your brackets ready, and we'll be on Twitter next week, Rob.